and now all it's coming to roost. Whatever, I'd like to know what if it's council districts all, what are they going to be doing for the all? It would be nice if we had it listed. After all, you guys operate in the dark. You don't operate openly. You're not, what's that Arnold word he used as governor, transparent? Not at all. You're the complete antithesis of being transparent. It's a guessing game. Maybe we should turn it into a game show because they have guessing games too, and you win prizes. But do we get what we're paying for? Very doubtful. Oh, we can say we are when we're not. We can pretend we are. Let's go act. It's Hollywood. But we really aren't. I'd like to know what we're getting for it. I'd like to know what's going on in the city with Bureau of Engineering. You just increased the budget about $350,000 for this Build LA project. What are you building? Are you going to build anything? Or is it kind of going to be like a WPA where my elders always told me Joe would dig a ditch and Frank would come behind him and fill it back up just to have work for the sake of work. I don't mind if you dig the ditch, but place something in there, a pipe or something. Don't just dig a ditch to fill it back up. That's a lot of work projects that you see. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Mr. Assam Aragai, good morning. Good morning. Let me just recommending the board to one, authorize the city engineer to issue a revision of the task order number 12 to SOMAS, increasing the budget authority from $12 million to $12,350,000 for project management and programming services for the Build Delay project.
Yes.
And this morning we're here with Mr. Assam. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning, President Garcia. Good morning, commissioners. Good morning, everyone. So this is about Build LA, and again, I'm going to brief you a little bit on the Build LA project. Okay. So the Build LA project will be providing a portal for all the constituents of the city of LA, and also the developers and contractors who are using the development services within the city. It's one-stop shop where all of these constituents can go to and track their permits and their projects in one place. Right now, they have to contact multiple departments to get the status of their permits with the Bureau of Engineering, for example, and building and safety for other permits. So we want to bring all of this in one place for the constituents so they can track all of their projects, contact the right agency, so we can always expedite these projects. So that's the purpose, general purpose of Build LA. SOMAS is providing staff augmentation because we need like large amount of programming for a short time, and then really we can rely on the city staff to complete and maintain that project in the future. So today we are asking for $1 million out of the Bureau, the Engineering Equipment and Trust Fund, and this will be used to update the Bureau of Engineering online applications that were built about 20 years ago. So it was built on a platform called Fusion, and today we want to move that to a Microsoft platform called Active Server Pages, which is more secure and will provide, also updates to these applications to fit within the new environment with Build LA. So this is really the purpose of requesting this $1 million. The consultant is meeting really the business inclusion program so far. So they achieved really very good number, and they are pledging really even higher numbers in the future. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you have.
Thank you for that, Assam. Any questions, colleagues? So just to be clear, the build, and we've had many presentations on this, so thank you so much. But just for the public for today, the Build LA project is going to be an interactive software between the city departments and anybody that wants to pull a permit for whatever construction or whatever they're doing on for whatever purpose they need a permit for.
Exactly, it's one-stop shop again, and instead of going to multiple departments, they can track all their projects and the progress of these projects. Any obstacles or stopping points on the projects, they will see that in one place which is the customer portal of Build LA.
Got it. And also Department of, that is not only Public Works, it also includes other city departments like Building and Safety?
Exactly. It's
Okay.
not just Public Works, it's Building and Safety, LA Housing, LA Fire Department, any agency that issues a permit or provides a service that's related to like construction and development, of any roads or buildings or anything like that. So it's not just Public Works.
Okay, and the Public Works Department, Bureau of Engineering will be
The lead.
the holder, the lead,
Yes. We will be
the
the lead
host.
on this project until it's completed. And after that, ITA may take it, Building and Safety may take it, but
Oh.
the Bureau of Engineering right now is overseeing the development and the delivery of this project.
Got it. Okay, thank you. I know it's very hard to hear and contemplating whether we say something or not. Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Any other questions, colleagues? Well, last question on my end. This increase of budget of $350,000 for this time, is that going to be the cap, or do we foresee?
Ceiling, exactly.
That is the ceiling.
Yes, so we can't exceed that amount. The previous amount was really $11,350,000. The amount not to exceed that amount, $11,350,000.
Okay.
Now we are asking not to exceed $12,350,000. So it's really an increase of $1 million in the ceiling of the contract.
Okay, understood.
Yes.
All right, nobody else has any questions? Commissioner Corson?
I'll just add, Color is a Build LA champion. BOE and SOMAS have been doing a lot of the hand-holding for the other bureaus and departments in the city that are participating in this program. So I want to acknowledge that and point out to my colleagues that a lot of that funding is probably being helping the other bureaus of public works and other city departments to meet the goals that they're supposed to meet.
And other departments too. Yeah, agreed. All right, this sounds great. And also this is a part of Mayor Bass's ED1 priority on making sure that those permits get on the software in a one-stop shop.
Actually, one of the applications that we developed under the Build LA initiative, it's called the Affordable Housing Tracking System, and it tracks all the projects, that provide 100% affordable housing or any percentage. So those are all tracked within that, and very soon we will be having a public interface for that, so the public can see all the progress in that area.
Okay, understood, got it. All right, well, I don't hear any other questions, any objections? Seeing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 2 forward and forthwith? Thank you, VP. Thank you, Dr. Davis. Mr. Knight, there's a first by Vice President Villegas and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 2 forward and forthwith.
Very well. We will take a roll call vote on item number 2, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corsan.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and the item is adopted and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 3, and I'm gonna just read it for the record, but I know 3 and 4 we're gonna take together this one time. So I'm gonna just take public comment for 3 and 4. I'm gonna take public comment 3, then I'll do 4 after that, okay? Public comment for item number 3, Mr. Mike Greenspan.
And you have 2 minutes.
Mike Greenspan, I'll combine my remarks since you're combining the items, just because it's the same point I'd be going over. And that is the first one, item 3. We've got about 16 violators, $10,000 penalty. Slap, slap, slap. Oh, come on, folks. Maybe you should really put some teeth into it and make it a $100,000 penalty. Then they would get it. I'm 10,000. I'm sure in a month these executives with all these companies probably spend more than that at their country club. And whether their country club is all white and all Christian or has people of color and Jewish people, but they spend more than that in their country club. This is just a cost of doing business type of thing to them. So you violate, and what do you get? Oh, $10,000 fine. A pittance, a few farthings by comparison. And then the other one, item 4. Well, we got 23 violators. So, wow, we'll get $230,000 and they should all be fined $100,000. If you really want to do something and to get them to help correct their behavior, then you need to increase the penalties. These are just the cost of doing business. They get written off by these type of companies. And so why are you being so lenient on them when you should really be coming down on them for violations, being it insurance or whatever? If they're not performing the way their performance bond has been set up, then you come down on them and say, hey, you are being fined big time. 6 figures is a lot bigger than 5 figures, and they would get it a lot faster.
Thank you. Public comment for item number 3 is now officially closed. This is in all council district from the Office of Natural Gas and Petroleum, non-compliance of the City of Los Angeles Franchise Ordinance, Section 6.3, faithful performance bond requirement, monetary penalty. And I am going to call Ms. Erica Blyther. I'm also going to take item number 4, and my understanding is that you are, public speaker for item number 4 is,
The public
Yes.
commenter for items 3 and 4 combined his comments, so
Okay.
you can go ahead and, if you're, if
I do, I want to take them both together. Okay, thank you. Public comment for item number 4 is now closed as well, 3 and 4. Ms. Blyther, I'm just going to read item number 4 for the record, the top, but I won't go into the details. I'm going to let you do that. This is item number 4. We're taking 3 and 4 together. This is non-compliance of the City of Los Angeles Franchise Ordinance, Section 5.2, insurance requirement, monetary penalty. And this morning we have Ms. Blyther here, our petroleum officer. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. Excuse me. Yes, good morning, honorable commissioners and department heads. Thank you for your time. I'm Erica Blyther, the city's petroleum administrator, and I'm providing some background and context for these items. So let's start at the beginning. What is a franchise agreement? Well, this is a franchise agreement. So there's one of these for each of the 42 franchisees in the city. And a franchise agreement is done when the local government has to exercise control. So local governments, as well as state and federal agencies, can negotiate terms of an easement or franchise agreement relating to pipeline locations, availability of information, required payment by operations for line relocations in case of street or highway reconstruction or rerouting projects, maintenance of the right-of-way, pipeline abandonment, and many other issues. Municipalities endeavor to accommodate pipeline networks while protecting the integrity of their city roads, ensuring public safety, and managing the commercial value of the public streets and thoroughfares. As such, cities require that pipeline companies obtain a contractual privilege or franchise that governs the location, construction, operation, abandonment, and removal of pipelines over and under public streets. Pipeline companies pay cities for this privilege and to offset the city's franchise-related administrative costs. The regulatory mandate to grant the ability for the City of Los Angeles to regulate pipelines that may be located within the public right-of-way comes from the California Government Code, Section 26000 of the California Government Code and Section 26001. And they grant franchises along and over the public rights, public road, and highways for all lawful purposes upon such terms, conditions, and restrictions that, in the city's judgment, are necessary and proper. And the City of Los Angeles Administrative Code authorizes the petroleum administrator with the power to administer and exercise the powers listed under Los Angeles Administrative Code, Division 13, Franchises, Permits, and Privileges. The Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas Administration and Safety has a mix of different franchises. Specifically, we have some public utility/common carrier franchises, such as SoCalGas and SoCal Edison, which are regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission, and some private proprietary franchises. In total, we have 41 franchises, 9 public common carrier, 32 proprietary. Most are for oil-related products, about 31, but we also have 4 for potable water, 3 for natural gas, 1 for hydrogen, 1 for styrene, and 1 for electricity. Public utilities or common carrier pipelines are issued a certificate of public convenience and necessity from the California Public Utilities Commission to transport oil and oil products from third parties based on a set tariff. In looking at a franchise agreement, page 5 goes through a section 2.6 for monetary penalties. And so the board may levy a monetary penalty on a grantee as an alternative to, or in addition to, suspending all or part of the franchise privileges for grantee's failure to abide by terms and conditions of the franchise. And specifically, some that are called out are failure to maintain the insurance required by the city, as well as failure to maintain in full force and effect and upgrade the amount of the required faithful performance bond as directed by the board. There are also documents that were developed by the city attorney and the executive officer laying out the timeline and penalty amounts. So for example, on day 1, so there's one specifically for bonds and one specifically for insurance noncompliance. Day 1 is the issuance of the first notice of violation, day 31 is the issuance of the second notice of violation, and day 41 requires the third notice of violation, penalty, and a notice to appear before the board, which is the matter we're discussing today. I also want to call your attention to an article from 2019, and this is in the summer 2019 Board of Public Works newsletter. And so this is titled, "The Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas Reduces Risk." To use pipelines, operators are required to have a contract with the Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas, known as a franchise agreement, which includes insurance, bonding, annual fees, and pipeline safety tests. In accordance with the franchise ordinance, a franchisee is required to obtain at its own costs comprehensive general liability at $10 million, workers' compensation liability at $1 million, automobile liability at $1 million, and pollution liability at $25 million. In February of 2018, there was a motion, or there were efforts to obtain updated insurance, including pollution liability, which includes sudden and gradual coverage. So back then, the Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas issued a notice of violation of first offense in April of 2018, issued the second notice of violation in August of 2018, and the third notice in September of 2018. By the end of the year of 2018, the number of non-compliant franchises was reduced from 42 to 4, with a 90% compliance rate. So to say it in another way, in 2018, my predecessor, Uduak Joe Entuk, brought a similar item before the board on October 26 of 2018, when there were 9 franchisees out of compliance, 7 for insurance and 2 for bonds. By the end of 2018, the number of non-compliant franchises were reduced again from 42 to 4, a 90% compliance rate. There were some years during the pandemic when the Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas staffing dropped down to 2 members in total, and we were not able to verify compliance. In 2021 and 22, as the petroleum administrator, I worked hard to fill vacant positions. And so some of my employees are here today, John Childs as well as Gordon Jung, and they've been working very hard on the franchise group. And Sandy's also here. She's been helping assist us with things. And I worked hard to fill these positions, and they began franchise compliance verification. It was very disheartening to discover how many franchisees had fallen out of that previous stellar compliance record. As early as September 7th of 2022, the Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas began reaching out via email in an effort to bring franchisees into compliance. Unfortunately, that compliance didn't occur, and for bonds, on August 3rd of 2023, the office issued the first notice of violation for lack of compliance for bonds. On September 7th, the city issued the second notice of violation. On February 22nd of this year, the city issued the third notice of violation and notice to appear before board. Again, several attempts were made to reach out to the franchisees to update their bond and meet compliance, but they were not successful. Also note that we did give additional time between the second and third notice of violation. Instead of 10 days, we gave 180 days. For insurance, we followed a similar pathway. August 3rd is when the first notice of violation was issued. September 7th is when the second notice of violation was issued, and February 22nd of this year, the city issued the third notice of violation. Again, notice we gave additional time. In referencing the procedure developed by the executive officer and the city attorney, the city's policy is that for a fourth or more offense, regardless of timing, the penalty should be $50,000. Item 3 listed 16 non-compliant franchisees. As of this morning, 12 remain out of compliance and 2 are confirmed working on compliance. Item 4 listed 23 out of compliance, and as of this morning, 21 remain out of compliance and 6 are confirmed working to get into compliance. Per the board's guidance, we're putting those out of compliance on notice, and we're asking them to come to compliance in 4 weeks on April 10th of 2024.
Thank you for that, Ms. Blyther. Just hang on just 1 minute. Any questions, colleagues? See Commissioner Corson?
Erica, I know you had mentioned this is not something that, an assessment that has been made or a fee that has been made in a few years. So I would like to propose that when it comes to matters of assessments, that we have a public hearing first, and I want to use this as that and maybe propose from this date, giving the franchisees 30 days to be in compliance, and then hearing this again, and then have the assessment at that point.
Thank you for that, Mr. Corson. Any objections to Mr. Corson's amendment? Hearing none. Ms. Blyther, just to be clear, the amendment that Mr. Corson has put on the table is that as of today, we're giving these franchises a public notice of 30 days to be on compliance. And so in 30 days from now, if they not have gotten into compliance, we will hold another public meeting like today and move forward with an action. Is that okay?
Yes.
Got it. Is that okay? All right, thank you so much. Given that there are no objections to Mr. Corson's motion, Mr. Corson, is that a motion on your end?
That is a motion.
Thank you, I'll second that. Mr. Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Corson and a second by me to move items 3 and 4 as amended with the notice that this is a public notice that they have 30 days to comply. If after 30 days they have not complied, we will have another hearing in 30 days to take action for that.
Yes, very good, President Garcia. Just give me one moment to
Sure.
bring up my calendar. And what I will propose, in addition to the amendment, is to go ahead and reschedule the items to a meeting 30 days from today, which would put us at April 17th. Is
April
that-
17th, you said April 10th?
April 10th, though April 10th is fine.
That would be 4 weeks.
4 weeks. I want to make sure we do 30 days, 4 weeks. So today is
What's
the
calendar say?
13th.
I'm sorry.
So we could do April 10th or April 17th, either one of those days.
Let's do April 10th unless I have objections.
I see a board recess scheduled for April 10th.
Is that what?
Okay.
We have recess? What? I think we never have any recess. All right, so we have a recess. Great. We won't do it that day.
Wait.
Give me a
Let me
second.
double check. My holiday calendar.
We do
Oh,
have
we
recess.
do. We do. It's Ramadan. My apologies.
So let's
Thank
do it
you.
the
Thank you,
17th then.
Commissioner Corson. Sorry about that.
Thank you for catching that. April 17th then.
So yes, April 17th is available.
Perfect. We'll take April
My
17th.
apologies.
Okay, Ms. Blyther, we are agreeing that April 17th is our next date that we will have you back. Items 3 and 4 will be continued on that day, for that day.
Thank you.
All right. Sure.
Starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to go back. Who moved and did we have a mover and a second on the?
Commissioner Corson as first and me as second to move items 3 and 4 as amended and continue to April 17th.
Very good. Thank you, President Garcia. And we'll take a roll call vote on the amended motion to move the items 3 and 4 to April 17th, 2024. Starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. Aye. President Pro Tem Davis. Aye. Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. And the items are continued to April 17th, 2024.
Very well. Thank you with that. Thank you, Ms. Blyther, for being here this morning. And to all the franchises, I hope that from now into 30 days from now, you have some communication with the petroleum officer. Thank you for that. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 5. This is a request in El Council District from the Bureau of Sanitation and the Bureau of Contract Administration. And we have Mr. Andres Cubarrubas and Mr. Miguel Zambrano, but I do have a public comment card, so let me just take that first, which is Mr. Mike Greenspan, item number 5. Pass. Public comment for item number 5 is now officially closed. Mr. Cubarrubas, come back up. This is a request for proposals, an RFP for hauling services for municipal solid waste, Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, utilizing alternative fuel tractor trailers. recommending the board to authorize the general manager of the Bureau of Sanitation to, one, distribute and advertise the transmitted RFP for hauling services for municipal solid waste in the city of Los Angeles from Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station utilizing alternative fuel tractor trailers. Two, evaluate the proposals based on established rating criteria, select and interview the most qualified proposer or proposers. Three, negotiate a contract or contracts with the most responsive proposer or proposers. And four, return to the Board of Public Works for authority to award and execute any contract or contracts subject to the mayor and city council approval prior to contract execution. Mr. Covarrubias, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, President Garcia, board members, city attorney, bureau representatives, and executive officer. My name is Andres Covarrubias, an engineer with the Solid Resources Processing and Construction Division for the LA Sanitation and Environment Department. So some background for the request to authorize the release of this RFP. LA San manages citywide the collection and disposal of approximately 5,500 tons per day of residential municipal solid waste across 6 waste sheds. The collected solid waste is transported to the processing and disposal sites, such as landfills and CLARTs. Of these 6 waste sheds, North Central, South Los Angeles, and part of West Los Angeles waste sheds utilize Central Los Angeles Recycling and Transfer Station, also known as CLARTs, for transloading and hauling of municipal solid waste to designated sites. This accounts for approximately 2,900 tons per day of residential and private waste and 300 tons per day of organic waste delivered to Clark's, representing more than half of the waste collected by the curbside collection program. Clark's is operated by LA Sands Solid Resources Processing and Construction Division and is permitted to accept 4,025 tons per day of waste, including household, commercial, and organic material. The facility operates 6 days a week. Upon arrival at Clark's, the collected waste from the curbside collection program and private haulers is loaded into hauling trucks known as tractor trailers for transportation to various facilities, including landfills and composting facilities. The hauling trucks have a maximum capacity to transport 22 tons of waste, and tonnage required to hauling is contingent upon the demand of waste that arrives at Clark's. As of January 1, 2020, Clark's hauling trucks were mandated to transition from diesel fuel to alternative fuels, such as compressed natural gas, liquefied natural gas, and electricity, for their fleets to use hauling solid waste. This requirement is in accordance with the South Coast Air Quality Management District's Rule 1193, aimed at reducing air pollution and improving air quality by reducing emissions of pollutants associated with the diesel combustion, including particulate matter and nitrogen oxides. Currently, Clark's is serviced by 2 haulers, Ecology and CR&R, providing 44 CNG trucks daily to haul approximately 29 tons of trash and 300 tons of organic waste. The existing contract expires on December 7, 2025. The proposed contract will be for a total of 10 years with an initial 5 years and 5-year renewal option. Selected contractors will be responsible for transporting the waste from Clark's to designated sites. The RFP requires contractors to provide a fleet of alternative fuel tractor trailers. The number of tractor trailers required to fulfill the demand of waste at Clark's is 48 tractors. This RFP allows for smaller hauler companies to participate and encourages competitive bidding. To achieve this, proposers are required to propose a fleet of a minimum of 12 alternative fuel vehicles. Potentially, LA San can end up with 4 contractors, each with a fleet of 12 CNG trucks. Also, proposers will be required to include at least 1 electric truck as part of the city electrification program. The RFP includes information to the regulatory agency websites that offer grants for the purchasing of alternative fuel fleets, such as electric hauling trucks. Our recommendations include authorizing the director to distribute and advertise RFP, evaluate proposals, and select qualified proposers, negotiate contracts, and seek approval from the board, subject to mayor and city council approval. The evaluation criteria encompass company information, past experience, performance, technical requirements, proposed service fees, proposal responsiveness, and local business preference. The duration of the contract would be for 5 years, with an initial 5 years with no impact to the general fund. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Covarrubias. Let me ask my colleagues, any questions on this item, colleagues? Commissioner Reyes?
Just one question in terms of data reporting, because these are alternative fuel, there's still some emissions that will be generated. Whose responsibility will that be?
So yeah, under the RFP, it would be advised that the contractors' proposers will have to comply with all SC, AQMD rules, including federal and state. So they would be the ones complying.
And is that submitted directly to AQMD, or is that submitted as well to LA Sanitation?
That would be submitted to LA San as well.
Okay, and that will be part of the GHG emissions report that we collect?
Yes.
All right, just to be clear. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Reyes. Mr. Covarrubias, you said something about grants for purchasing fleet. Can you elaborate on that more?
Correct. So currently, there's state programs that offer grants for electrification trucks. So this is we're gonna offer websites that it's gonna offer these grants.
You're going to offer websites. Can I ask that you go a little further than that? Can you provide more information to whoever is interested in this on how they can actually meet whatever requirement those grants ask for? I'm just afraid that we're putting although we're all going into the electrical and alternative fuel, and I'm very happy for that, I feel like by us putting a clause there that we have to have electrical or we might be excluding some folks that can potentially submit a bid to this. And so I'm worried about that part of it. And is there some way that we can provide more information than just providing a link?
Yeah, we can provide more information during the pre-proposal meeting. And
Perfect.
in general,
Perfect.
a fleet of trucks can apply for these grants. So smaller companies can
also be on the same platform. Got it. Give me a second. Commissioner Reyes?
Yeah, in addition, just piggybacking on President Garcia, the Infrastructure Act does have links to grants that pertain to electrification of transportation via the EPA as well. So you should be looking into that and provide that as part of the resources that proposers can use when they're looking at applications for electrifying transportation vehicles, those alternative fuel vehicles that are going to be used for this purpose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Covarrubias. Yes, that can, an instruction from the board to please, on your pre-bid conference, to elaborate more on how folks can get help for alternative fuel or electrical vehicles, because they are very pricey and expensive, and folks that we're trying to bring up to be equitable might have a very hard time, and providing a link is not enough. So I'm going to instruct the Bureau of Sanitation to move forward with an extensive research and also provide that information during the pre-bid.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other questions on this item?
Yeah.
Dr. Davis?
I wanted to ask in terms of our strategy and our exploration about the impact of the inclusion of more of these vehicles. Did we anticipate what impact it will have upon our operation? Are there ample enough of these trucks in the marketplace that will be able to help us to meet the goal that we have to do in managing the caseload that we have in the city of Los Angeles?
Yeah, before this new contract, so as of January 2020, A lot of smaller companies are aware that this rule is out there, so they have been preparing for this. CNG trucks in particular, since those are the most accessible and have the infrastructure for it as well.
So we have a lot of trucks out there you anticipate that will be able to help us meet our need in terms of us really exploring if some companies will come on board. The grant in and of itself, how does it work? Does it provide a total sum of money for trucks that are sufficient for what we need, or does it provide a partial payment to that end?
I would have to do more research, extensive research, as Ms. Garcia directed, to get more
Yeah,
information.
we would definitely, absolutely want to know that. I know that there is a significant cost on behalf of the small business person who's doing this. And if this grant provides assistance, and it does, we want to make sure that it's abundant enough for a majority of the small businesses in our environment that they can succeed with this grant. Because if it just gives them a little bit, but yet not enough to continue business, we would want to know that, because in the long term, it's going to impact the availability of people to do this job. And then the question I would have then would be, then who does the job? Are there major corporations that come in that already are staffed up with these, with this equipment that's going to come in and do it? Or all of those things are, I think, critical.
Yeah, and the electrification or the requirement is more of a pilot program. So it is part of the evaluation criteria, but it's not going to be like the major points.
I see. And where does the money come from for these grants?
Usually from the regulatory agencies, like
The state?
the
or
state.
The state of California?
Correct.
Is it the Office of Energy? AQMD?
AQMD
Okay,
in
gotcha.
particular.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Although, Mr. Covarrubias, on your evaluation criteria for technical requirements 2 under operation and compliance plan, you have there as an electrical truck requirement.
Yes.
So that tells me that you're going to evaluate my proposal on the fact whether I have an electrical truck.
Yeah, so as far as the electric truck requirement, they would just have to come up with a plan. So I know it's gonna require them to maybe a couple years before they can start the purchasing of it, of the truck. So as long as they have a detailed plan as in how it would be required, and if they know the requirements of the electric purchasing.
Understood. Would you, because I know that after today, you can still do some modifications on this. So can you put on section 2 there, electrical truck requirement, plan, like a plan? Like a plan is okay. If they have the electrical truck, great. But if they don't, they're not going to be dinged for it, correct? Because all you're looking for is a plan of them acquiring an electrical vehicle at some point.
Correct.
Okay, so you might just want to be a little more explicit on item 2, on just making sure that it's not the electrical truck requirement. Because if I read this just like that right now, I would have to think that I need an electrical truck.
Yeah.
So can you just make
We'll
a
update this.
more clarification on that one? Any other questions or issues? So just to be clear, this RFP is for the truckers that are going to haul away the solid waste from the carts to the landfill.
Correct.
Got it, okay. All right, any other issue, any objections on item number 5? Hearing none. Vice President Villegas?
Just so we have clarification, so those that have the ability to get like CNG or, natural gas will be scored on the same level as those that aren't?
Well, as a requirement, just for them to apply, they need to comply with SC AQMD Rule 1193, which already requires CNG trucks.
Okay, and so those that don't have those trucks cannot apply?
Correct.
Okay. So other truckers in the sphere of Los Angeles that do not have that, they cannot apply.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's up to us, correct? We put the criteria, we put the requirements, and we can do that. So, but yeah, they're scoring it, but we can propose to change that requirement of an electrical vehicle. Although, this is the part that maybe I'm not very fully familiar. AQMD, right? This is funding from AQMD?
And it's a state regulation
In a
right
state
now
regulation for funding?
to switch to the natural gas. CNG. Go ahead.
We got the heavy duty here now.
Good afternoon, or good morning. Miguel Cermeno with Sanitation, Assistant Division Manager. Yes, Commissioner Garcia, the intent of the electric truck is more like a pilot to encourage those proposers to come in and get us ready for electrification down the road. Okay, and I hear you that the intent was just to create a pilot and develop a pilot. So that requirement of electrification, at this point, there's no guidelines for requirements from AQMD. The only thing that we are required to comply through AQMD, which is the requirements to have CNG vehicles trucking, not the electrification. So what we're trying to do, and you're correct by saying it's up to the board to let us know whether they want us to have that pilot in place or delay that pilot in place or not be part of a requirement as part of the criteria. You're absolutely correct. So that would be something the board can guide us and let us know that we should just make it a plant requirement rather than a require for them to have a truck in place. But in terms of the CNG vehicles, it is mandatory by AQMD, and if we have to use alternative fuel, otherwise we cannot hold it.
Yeah.
So I hope I answered your question, Commissioner.
Yeah, no, it did. I just wasn't sure if the funding was tied up to making sure that we had electrical vehicles. CNG, I'm very absolutely, we have to have that. All of our fleet is now CNG, and so I do encourage that. And most haulers now are CNG as well. It's just the EV it's a big jump price wise. I'm just thinking of a hauler this is their job to do, and we are now going to say, you won't qualify for this one because you have to have electrical vehicle. We're in this really stage of going like the transition between alternative and electrical, and so there's going to be a big learning curve for many folks and also a financial curve for many folks. And so I just don't want to be very rigid and say, if you don't have this, you can't participate in a potential livelihood for them. And so I just don't want to, I don't think I'm completely ready to say, if you don't have an EV, you can't be considered. I want to somehow word it out that CNG is definitely a requirement, 100%. I'm not arguing that, but that if they are using CNG, they wouldn't be disqualified from this RFP.
We hear your recommendation, Commissioner Garcia. We'll go ahead and make it very clear that it's just submitted a plan, and if you can afford, you're absolutely correct. You're talking about from $500,000 plus for a truck.
I know
that we don't know how will work in those conditions. So we'll come back, make those revisions to the RFP, and to make sure it's clear that a plan and the small companies will have a chance, an opportunity to be part of the process.
Be part of this.
Yes.
Got it. Understood. Thank you. Commissioner Reyes?
Yeah, including that as a plan on the electrification, because it helps build on the current Green LA goals in terms of electrifying transportation, because it's a big source of GHG emissions right now. So we do have pilots in the city already of our electric vehicles that are heavy duty, and trucks in fact, we have 2 refuse collection trucks being piloted right now within LA Sanitation. And I think that is a good demonstration to the public in the future of the feasibility of having more electric trailers and tractors being used in our operations. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rodriguez. Thank you for that. And no, we're more than happy to see EV fleets out there and just very alternative level of, very happy to see all of that. I just don't want us to just get on this box of if you don't have it, you can't participate, because it's a big, like I said earlier, it's a big financial curve there. You're going from like these trucks are already so expensive. I don't even want to know, but you're going $100,000 probably and more hike there. And like you said, you don't even, it's a pilot. So let's not ding those folks that don't have it. Let's try to include them, but also encourage the participation of any EV fleets also.
We'll do. And we'll
It's a median you're gonna have to walk by, but I'm sure you guys will figure out how to work that out.
Sure.
Okay. All right, any other questions, colleagues? Any objections? Hearing none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 5 forward and forthwith? Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second? Thank you, VP Villegas. Mr. Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Vice President Villegas to move item number 5 forward and forthwith.
Very well. We will take a roll call vote on item number 5, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas. President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 5 is approved and referred to Mayor and Council forthwith.
Perfect. So this is just for you to make those amendments internally before the pre-award bid offering, and then 2 things, that and the extra information on any grants or any stipends that folks can get by purchasing any electrical fleet. Thank you. Thank you. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 6. This is a request from Bureau of Sanitation and the Bureau of Contract Administration. And I do have a speaker card, but let me read this into the record. Personal Service Contracts, Bureau of Sanitation, Clean Water, Environmental Quality, Solid Resource, and Watershed Protection Programs. And Mr. Greenspan.
And you'll have 2 minutes. I would like to note for the record, we also have a hand raised on Zoom. So after Mr. Greenspan's comments, we can see if the attendee on Zoom wants to offer commentary on this item as well.
Okay. Do you want to, let's have the public speaker go first, and then we'll check Zoom. Thank you.
Mike Greenspan. Well, ho, ho, ho. We just had items 3 and 4, and you guys were very generous to a bunch of violators. Instead of cracking
item
down,
6.
well, it's a basis of this issue. And that is, somebody spoke earlier about minor things and got them bumped. Well, why don't they have 35 days? Yes, 35 days, not 30, 5 weeks. Why aren't they having that extra time to try to become more qualified for your bidders? That's what I'm getting at. I mean, you've got 31 pre-qualified on-call consultants for planning and technical support services. You could probably have more. But if you are dropping the axe on them today, why aren't they getting 35 extra days to maybe clean up some technical things? And why do we have to tie people to a big company? Why doesn't the big company come out on their own and try for the job instead of regulating, well, you have to have so many small companies, big companies, this, that.
Mr. Greenspan, this is item number 6.
Yes,
Personal
it's
Services
about
Contracts.
pre-qualifying people, and you've got too many rules choking it all. That's the issue. Someone once told me years ago, worked with the Department of Housing. Yes, they give tests, but they've got it set up to where they're going to give that job to anybody they want, despite what the test scores might be or their qualifications. Well, that's how you're doing it here. Hey, you just awarded the violators, the slap on the wrist violators. But yet people who haven't done anything wrong, who haven't violated anything, just you're nitpicking, and they don't get a chance. Let them get those 35 extra days, and maybe you have more than 31 pre-qualified.
2 minutes.
Thank you for that. Can we check the Zoom platform, Mr. Knight?
Yes, of course, Madam President. So I have an attendee, and I'm going to say the initials GP.
Yes, Goat Puppet Nigger Developer.
Okay, we need to ask him if he's here for item number 6. If not, he,
I've put him back on mute. Attendee,
Stupid. Of course,
attendee GP, I put you back on mute.
stop fucking muting me.
okay.
Yeah,
We're trying to
I
ask you if you're here for
Employee.
item number 6.
It's
can't get
number
to that point.
6.
Go ahead, you have
Yes,
2
of
minutes, sir.
course.
2 minutes.
Yes.
Starts now.
I like corruption like this. Yes, Davis knows all about it. The other 4 of you newbies don't know anything. This is the slop it on. See, what you do, humans, is you have a set of contractors on the side. For example, picking up shit. This is something I'm very good at. We go to homeless encampments, and we have an outside contractor to pick up shit on the sidewalk, left by homeless criminal cocksuckers. Let's give those contractors a hand. Oh. Yes, they wear these suits, these white chemical suits. And they put gloves on. And then they carefully remove the fecal material and place it in bags. And then in the drums. And then they drive it down to the yard. But you see, there's a simpler way to save money, isn't there? What you do is, you go down to Broadway Place and Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Hey, let me write that down. Where is that at? It's over on Martin
This
Luther
is item number
King
6.
Jr.
This is a
Boulevard.
personal service contracts. Please stick to the topic.
Well, okay there, broad. We're trying to tell you what we're doing to save money, and you need to make sure there's compliance, which ties into other items. Make sure that they dispose properly, because Goat Puppet has been going around in the early mornings finding people dumping their refuse in the black plastic street cans. That's what I was trying to mention. But you want to subvert whistleblowers, right, Madam President? You want to suppress people who blow the whistle
That's 2
on
minutes.
these violations.
Thank you.
Fuck you.
Personal Service Contracts, Bureau of Sanitation, Clean Water, Environmental Quality, Solid Resources, and Watershed Protection Programs. Recommending the board to approve and forward this report with transmittals to the mayor and city council with the request that the Board of Public Works be authorized to execute personal service contracts with 31 pre-qualified on-call consultants for planning and technical support services. And 2, upon the mayor's and council's authorization, the president or 2 members of the board will execute these contracts. And this morning, we have Ms. Lanton and Mr. Patterson. Welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Nancy Lanton. I'm from LA Sanitation and Environment Administration Division. I'm here with John Pattison from also Administration Division. The board report before you is an authority to recommend award and execute 31 personal services contracts with pre-qualified consultants to establish, as President Garcia said, the new on-call list of consultants for planning and technical support services for LA Sanitation's programs, including the Clean Water Program, Environmental Quality, Solid Resources, Watershed Protection, and LA San's related programs. So as a summary, this is LA Sanitation's main on-call list that we utilize for outside assistance. Due to the nature of LA San's programs, we do have a large number of regulatory and program requirements that we will need satisfied. LA San utilizes these on-call lists as for pre-qualified consultants to obtain support from industry experts who have experience with these specialized regulatory and programs and challenges that we may face. Examples of task order solicitations that we have issued in the past on this list includes pilot studies, facilities planning, assistance with various board, council, mayor directives, and various program support services in achieving our city's sustainability goals. If I may, for the record, I would like to list the 31 consultants that are before you recommending for award. These consultants are AECOM Technical Services, Alisto Engineering Group, Aptim Environmental and Infrastructure, Arcadis US Inc., Atkins North America, Brown and Caldwell Inc., Burns and McDonnell, Carollo Engineers, Inc., CDM Smith, Inc., Cordoba Corporation, CWE, DR Consultants and Designers, Enfotech and Consulting, Inc., FMF Pandion, Geosyntech Consultants, GHD, Inc., Hazen and Sawyer, HDR Engineering, Jacobs, Kleinfelder, Inc., Larry Walker Associates, Mars Services, Michael Baker International, Paradigm Environmental, Parsons Transportation Group, SOMIS, Stantec Consulting Services, Tetra Tech, TRC Solutions, Woodard and Curran, and WSP. A brief description of our current list. We currently do have 24 pre-qualified consultants that have been in place since 2014. The board did approve a 5-year renewal on those contracts. Therefore, our current contracts of 24 pre-qualified consultants will expire this year on July 22nd, 2024. We are moving forward to recommend this time 31 personal services contracts of pre-qualified consultants. For the RFQ process, the board did approve LA Sanitation to release a new RFQ for these services back in October 2022. And we did post that on RAMP, our regional alliance marketplace for procurement, and that's the city's procurement platform. In January of 2023, LA Sanitation did receive 32 proposals or statements of qualification. LA Sanitation performed a technical evaluation of all 32 proposals. The selection criteria was set forth in the RFQ, and we evaluated each consultant under their consultant qualifications and experience, their personnel qualifications and experience, their technical approach on various projects, and their project management approach, as well as their compensation schedules. For the technical evaluation, all 32 proposers received a passing score of 70 and above, as we noted in the RFQ. In addition to that technical evaluation, all proposals were also reviewed by LA Sanitation staff, as well as Bureau of Contract Administration staff for the Business Inclusion Program requirement. That BCA deemed all of the proposers responsive to those outreach requirements, with the exception of Catalyst Environmental Solutions, due to the failure to comply with BIP, or Business Inclusion Program Indicator Number 6, negotiating in good faith. Therefore, since all proposers were required to complete the Business Inclusion Program outreach, and Catalyst did not complete that or did not pass that BIP indicator number 6, Sanitation and Bureau of Contract Administration cannot recommend award to contract to Catalyst. But we are moving forward to recommend award to the 31 consultants who did pass both the technical and Business Inclusion Program evaluation. I want to note that although we are not recommending award to Catalyst, Catalyst is a pre-approved potential subconsultant on 3 of the primes being recommended for award at this time. Those consultants are Carollo, FMF Pandion, and Larry Walker Associates. Therefore, there is still opportunity for Catalyst to work with our prime consultants for any potential task order solicitations under these proposed contracts. The contracts before you have a 5-year term with a 5-year renewal option to be exercised at the city's sole discretion. In regards to financing, there is no funding required at this time to execute these contracts. They will be simply placed on an on-call list, and specific funding and information will be provided at the time of approval during task order solicitation process. The city's general fund may be impacted when and if a task order solicitation will be issued through our environmental quality program, as that is general funded. The next steps for this, if the board does approve the award and execution of these contracts, they will require mayor and council approval, and we will come back to the board for the execution of these 31 consultants. This concludes my report. I will be happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lanton. Any questions, colleagues? I see Commissioner Corson, VP Villegas, and Dr. Davis. Let's start in that order.
I mean, I don't have a question. I just have a general sentiment that as a first-time bidder, I understand they're qualified as subs, that I would like to see them included in this list. So I don't know if the next step would be to ask for another continuance on this item and see if we can have them come back and be included in a former presentation as on the on-call list.
Okay,
That's not a motion, that's just throwing it out there is where I'm at.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Corson. VP Villegas?
Thank you. I was going to be talking about timing and, continuing an item such as this will backlog other projects in queue since the existing on-call list is set to expire in July. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And we still, after it goes to us for approval, it still needs to go to the CAO and then to council.
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm concerned that we're not going to make that timeline, even if we approve today. Is that correct?
We are working with the CAO's office so that we can get their financial status report completed. It varies depending on the nature of the projects when it comes to CAO and mayor review, but we have informed the CAO's office and the mayor's office of the urgency to get this approved on their end so we can have an on-call list and so we don't have a gap in service. So we've given them a heads up of these projects, potential contracts moving forward.
Okay. And having any kind of delay is going to impact, a lot of the work that is currently being done. If we don't have something to go forward with, it's going to have to stop projects by July. Is that correct?
Yes, current work on existing task orders will stop in July as those contracts will expire.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Villegas. Dr. Davis, no more? Okay, Commissioner Reyes?
I just want to echo what VP Villegas has said. First of all, thank you for, this took about a year, almost a year and a half for them to really do the diligence on, evaluating the consultants that are on this list. And I'm glad that it has expanded from 25 or 24 to the current 31. So there is more of a leverage there and more resources that will be available to LA Sanitation's programs because we do face, sanitation and the city face a lot of regulatory requirements right now. And we need that quick turnaround from our experts so that then we do not get dinged in our operations and the continuation of the projects that are currently in the queue right now. So I echo what VP Villegas said. Delaying this is not gonna be for the benefit or the best interest of the city. Because these are a group with what my colleague Commissioner Corsan has said, we can provide that list to him on the site or to the entire board, but I don't support the delay, the recommendation that Commissioner Corsan has stated. I would like to move this in the interest of time, because you never know, we have a recess coming up. You have to put this on the agenda for city council, although you're working with the CAO right now. So that being proactive is really important, and timing is of the essence when it comes to these contracts. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. So just to kind of find a happy median here, we want to move forward with this, but we want to also dive into more to Commissioner Corsan's request on our public speaker that was here this morning, the firm that was here this morning, correct? And see how we can include, what was the issue to be able to include them into the fold?
I'm sorry, question?
It's not so much of a question, it was more of a statement, actually. I was trying to find a medium here between Commissioner Corson and not stalling this RFP, so because we wanted to move forward. Commissioner Reyes?
I see on the list that Catalyst is included as a sub to some of the primes.
Oh.
So that participation, there are 3 primes where Catalyst is included. So therefore, they are not precluded from participating in any of those contracts should projects be assigned to those prime contractors.
Thank you for observing that. That is correct, right, Ms. Lanton?
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So to Commissioner Corson's concern is that they were not part of, so they're not part of the original 31, they're part of the sub-consultants list.
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
And you
I'd
want to
just
see them
like to
be,
note, President Garcia, that this recommendation is to award just the 31 contracts. So that is the recommendation to the board to move forward with the 31. I would like to defer to the city attorney in case if there is any discussion related catalyst, that could be done at a separate time.
I don't think it matters.
There is no requirement that all of them be approved at the same time, obviously. So to the extent further discussions are desired with respect to catalyst, that can be continued.
Ms. Choi, so your answer is that we can move forward with this, approve the 31, and then still have further conversation with Catalyst to include them into the 31 at a later point?
That's correct. There is no requirement that all of the contractors for the on-call list be approved at the same time. So the 31 approvals to date doesn't necessarily preclude the approval of one more contractor down the line.
Understood. Vice President Villegas? Oh, I didn't see your light, Commissioner Corso.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Either one.
For process, and this could be to the city attorney's office or to BCA or to sanitation, whoever can respond to my question. Opening this up, how does that happen when we approve and we've already gone through a process to gain these 31 firms?
In terms of process, our recommendation still stands. We had the business inclusion program requirement in the RFQ. So all proposers, based on LA Sands recommendation, only one did not pass. So they were required to all complete that requirement. That is sanitation's recommendation, and Bureau of Contract Administration also agreed with us.
Yeah, thank you. Because the city attorney is saying that at any time we can, include someone, and that is a process, I guess, that I probably need more education on because we've gone through other RFPs, we've got through other solicitations, and once we have that, it is generally closed. So I'm, I guess, confused that, why do we go through this if we can just add somebody whenever we want?
From an LA Sanitation standpoint, at this point, our recommendation is Catalyst did not pass BIP, and we cannot recommend them for award.
Okay, and then I would like a response then from the city attorney's office.
And I'm sorry, what was your question exactly?
When your answer was that we can add somebody whenever we want.
If it's not somebody whenever we want, it's if they, to the extent they were responsive in this round of the request for qualifications.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It is not penetrating to me.
If they submitted statements of qualification in this round of the RFQs, and then they could be added to the extent they are responsive. And right now, I think there's a debate as to whether they were responsive or not.
That is correct.
Yes, and so it's not like we can add anyone at any time. It's this one contractor that is up to debate apparently as to whether they were responsive or not. So it is this one contractor.
And after this vote, can we add someone after the fact?
Yes, I don't see anything precluding that. It's not like it's an open list for anyone to be added on, but it's not like once it moves forward, the on-call list is
Yeah,
done
that's
for.
where I'm confused because that, any time could be after this vote.
Yes, that is correct. Because
was my
these are the
question.
special circumstances where a contractor, the responsiveness is up for debate. So yes, they can be added after today if the board ultimately decides to waive the BIP for this.
If the board decides to,
Waive the BIP defect.
Waive the bid, B-I-D?
The BIP defect.
BIP.
Right.
Got it.
Does that make
waive,
sense? the business inclusion program for which they have been deemed unresponsive and disqualified. If the board disagrees and thinks that they should not be disqualified and deemed responsive instead, then yes, they can be added at a later point.
Okay, those would be different rules for the other 30 participants, is that correct?
What do you mean different
If
rules?
we choose to waive that requirement.
Yes, that is correct. And typically BIP is not waived.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
thank you.
wouldn't want to change the rules this late in the game.
Thank you.
Might I just add, the city attorney is just putting it on the table that the board has the authority to waive the defect in the BIP, not waiving the BIP program, but waiving the exact reason why the contractor who proposed, submitted their statement of qualifications, is being deemed non-responsive, which the presenter and Con Ed have agreed that they are in fact non-responsive.
Yeah, thank you. She made it clear. I appreciate
Thank you. Commissioner Corson?
So, thank you. Post letting them know that they were not in, their BIP didn't meet the standard. Did they then meet the standard, or was it just timing?
Yes, no, they did not meet the standard. The requirement was a submittal at the time of proposal.
Okay,
So they couldn't go back and resubmit
but the-
something correctly.
but did they ever submit anything or share any information?
I'm sorry, Ms. Commissioner.
Did they ever submit anything or share any information?
Yes, they submitted their explanation on why they misunderstood the BIP requirements. So they did provide that. As Mr. Tormes did say in his public comment, they submitted information to us. We did review that, also submitted to the Bureau of Contract Administration. They were still deemed non-responsive based on that.
Okay, but I'm not asking if they were unresponsive. I'm asking if, putting aside the timeline, if that would have met the standards.
Their resubmittal?
Yes.
No, they just explained that they did not understand the BIP requirements. Therefore, they did not complete it correctly. They did not submit what was required under the business inclusion.
So it was just more than missing a deadline after the fact.
Yes, I'm sorry, not after, yeah.
I think he said it was more than just missing the deadline. Is that correct?
Right. They made the deadline if the information submitted was not correct. All the other proposers submitted all the required documentation. The ones that passed business inclusion program submitted all their documents correctly and completely. Therefore, they passed. Catalyst was the only one that did not submit their business inclusion program outreach documentation correctly.
Understood. All 30 other one firms did.
Yes.
Okay, got it. Okay. Seems clear now. Vice President Villegas.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask if we could move the item.
Yes. Commissioner Reyes.
I just want to give a little bit more weight to the process that sanitation did in trying to get the information from Catalyst and still getting the same result. So I think that is giving them credence for the work that they have done in trusting the Bureau that they are following our rules in terms of the business inclusion program.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody. I really enjoy when we learn something new, and we learned today that we can not add new ones, just if the responsive part of it, they were responsive. Okay, so any other questions, colleagues? I think it seems fair to move it forward. Any objections? Hearing none. Is there a motion on the table?
So move.
Thank you. Thank you. TJ, Mr. Knight, there's a first by VP Villegas and a second by Commissioner Reyes to move item number 6 forward and forthwith.
Very well, we'll take a roll call vote on item number 6, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 6 is approved and will be referred to Mayor and Council forthwith.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Latin and Mr. Patterson. Have a good rest of the day. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 7. This is an all council district and AFE for the California Product Stewardship Council. And we do have a public speaking card in item number 7, Mr. Mike Greenspan. Okay, very well. This is an.
Madam President, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
We do also have a hand raised just now on our Zoom participation. If you would like for me to ask if the attendee would like to offer public comment or commentary on item number 7.
Yes, only on item number 7.
Attendee with the initials GP, if you would unmute, you'll have 2 minutes. If you're offering commentary on item 7, go ahead.
Yes, that's right. Back again. And you cheated me on the last item. Evil. But what the fuck is the circular textiles feasibility study phase 2? What the fuck does it mean? What was phase 1? The California Product Stewardship Council? What the fuck is that? AFE? What the hell is that? Nobody knows. The Citywide Recycling Trust Fund? Is that what we're getting this $36,000? You do a better job taking that $36,000 and going over and buying toilet paper and just wiping the asses of the homeless with it. This is ridiculous. What the fuck does this have to do with the Board of Public fucking Works? Textiles? That belongs in the Economic Development Department. Or the Workforce Environmental Department, or whatever they call that thing. The Workforce Development Department. Thank you. And Madam Chair, tell that person to stop interrupting me. He's off topic. So now, cocksucker, now, we need to know, I need to see a copy of
Is
the
this
report.
still regarding circular textiles
Yeah.
feasibility?
Yes, but I want to see the report. I'm trying to click on the link to the documents. We have that ability now in the 21st century, and I can't find any supporting documents. Why can't I find these supporting documents? What are you hiding from me? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you so evil?
2 minutes.
Why are you, and you're so
Thank
fat.
you. This is a request in NAFE
Yes,
for
ma'am.
Product Stewardship Council.
Very.
Please do not interrupt the meeting. This is
Sir,
your
I'm-
final warning.
I'm removing his permission to talk. And
Perfect.
so if
Thank
he
you.
is warned again, we can remove him from the virtual meeting.
Thank you. This is a Bureau of Sanitation and Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $36,000 for associated fees related to the circular textiles feasibility study Phase 2 for the period of August 15, 2023 to August 14, 2024. And this morning we have Ms. Mila? Ludmila?
Ludmila Bertanes.
Ludmila, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. Okay, here we go. Good morning, commissioners, Madam President. LA Sun and Environment Industrial Waste Management Division is here requesting approval to pay California Stewardship Council for associated fees related to the Circular Textile Feasibility Study Phase 2 in the amount of $36,000 from actually May of 23 to May of 24. We have a little bit of date discrepancy here. This does not impact the general fund. The Textile Recovery Project aims to establish a local textile reuse market through creating recovery roadmaps and piloting textile recovery models. The project was started in part due to a $25,000 grant awarded by the Goldhirsch Foundation from the LA 2050 Grants Challenge to lead the LA Circular Textiles Initiative. The project was contracted to the California Product Stewardship Council, a 501c3 nonprofit, in the year of 2020, with the mission to help the industry develop complex end-of-life solutions for hard-to-manage materials. To give a little bit of background on the textile, why we selected this project, why is it important to do recovery on the textile waste. Textile manufacturing contributes to between 3 and 10% of greenhouse gas emissions that drive climate change. Based on local reporting, it is estimated that 6% of franchised commercial wastes in Los Angeles is textile waste. Clothing production and usage results in water pollution, pesticides pollution, and the release of microplastics into water bodies that can negatively impact human health and natural ecosystems. So that's why we picked up this project as something worthwhile. Industrial Waste Management Division works with the industry, and we are with them every day, facing the same, knowing about the problems and the challenges that they face all the time. And therefore, we applied for the grant back in 2020, and we received it. So after that, that $25,000 grant resulted in us getting up to $100,000 from different brands of textiles and manufacturers to support this study. And then we went into phase 2, and what this request for approval is for. And I can go over what we accomplished in phase 1 and then go into what we've accomplished in phase 2. Phase 2 is almost done. The report is in its final review process. We're 80% done, and it will be probably completed by the end of April. But we established the city of Los Angeles as a leader in innovation and research for commercial textile scrap recovery. We leveraged the $25,000, as I said, and we received over $100,000 in investments in the research, in collaborative research. We identified sources of commercial textile waste in Los Angeles, examined current practices for disposal of commercial textile materials as it is now, formulated a textile database with textile generators, processors, sorters, and users. We mapped a circular approach to textile recovery and identified barriers to sorting the textile in order to do that recovery later, to maximize the recovery. And eventually we established a working group of professionals and stakeholders to support future textile recovery endeavors and formulate legislation with extended producer responsibility for textile waste. Then we completed that, the report is out, and the phase 2 of the study started for us. We expanded the hub and map and found more textile processors in Los Angeles. We worked with technology leaders to demonstrate to us fiber identification devices and lessons learned from their sorting experiences. We identified possible sorting sites and studied differences between manual sorting and infrared spectrometry devices. Also, we studied the difference between temporary sites and permanent sites for sorting. We coalesced a working group of experts and stakeholders, again, on the project status and recommendations. And ultimately, we established parameters and recommendations for formulating a concept report for building and operating a textile hub in the city of Los Angeles. So this, the request that I am here for today pays for phase 2 that is already done. So, but the authority for expenditure must be approved by you, so I'm here requesting that approval.
Thank you so much. So in other words, you already did the work and we have to pay. Got it. Will we be able to see this report, this study, and the
Yes,
recommendations?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Do you mind when you get your final phase 2 feasibility study to send it to TJ Knight and he will make sure that all commissioners get it?
I shall.
Okay, thank you for that.
And Commissioner Reyes is a big support
Yes.
to the program, and she has access to all of
I was just gonna give kudos to Commissioner Reyes in a bit right now, but she seems to have a question. So Commissioner Reyes?
I just want to just add also to the partnership that this particular textile recovery program, it's a partnership with Homeboy Threads.
Oh, okay.
And that's really one of the key factors is on workforce development and training. And therefore, the $36,000 is to help wrap up phase 2 and then think about the expansion under phase 3. And they will have to still do the planning for that, and that will be presented back to the board. But there is a lot of movement on the textile recovery now because there's about 215,000 tons of textile materials that are being put in the black bin right now. And there's no way for them to go. So the hub that Ludmila mentioned is something that we can work with our stakeholders. And at the same time, one other key factor is working with LA 2028 on terms of having the recycled content uniforms for the athletes that will be here in LA. So it has a long forward vision looking type of campaign that the LA Textile Recovery Task Force is tasked to do. So thank you for that, and it's just the start.
I know.
There'll be
Thank you.
more. Thank you.
Well, thank you to the team, and thank you to you, Commissioner Reyes, for being a leader in this field as well. This is we have a fashion district. It just a few blocks away from here that I'm sure there's a lot that we can do with that. And I mean, we hold probably one of the biggest fashion districts in the nation. So this is very good work that we're starting. And again, thank you to everybody that's working on this. And I look forward to seeing those hubs eventually be put in place because like you said, we need to figure out some kind of a solution if residents are putting in old clothes or textiles in the black bin. Perhaps part of the study or moving forward is looking into how we can, one, divert that, and two, change the behavior of that. This is a very important moving it forward. So thank you again to Commissioner Reyes for being a leader since day one that she became a commissioner for this board. She has been working on that. So, and thank you all for leading this effort as well.
We appreciate it.
Again, it's like slowly coming, but eventually it's going to be this big undertaking that's going to happen. But we're in phase 2 of this, moving it forward. Very nicely done. Thank you for that.
And phase 3, just to wrap it up, our phase 3 will include a major public, commercial, and residential outreach that will that will make the both the industry and the residents aware of our challenges with textile waste, and suggest and recommend and teach the ways to minimize the textile waste in the first place.
Yeah, I could already see it fanned out. So excited about phase 3 then. Okay, colleagues, don't leave quite yet. We haven't voted on this item. Item number, you went this far. We're almost there. All right, colleagues, any other questions on item number 7? Any objections? Hearing none. Is there a motion on the table to move item number 7 forward and forthwith? Thank you, Commissioner Reyes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Mr. Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 7 forward and forthwith.
Very, very well. We will take a roll call vote on item number 7, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
Vice President Villegas.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis.
Aye.
Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. Item number 7 is approved and will move forward forthwith.
Very well. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of the day. All right, colleagues, moving on to item number 8. This is an all-council district for an AFE for State Water Resource Control Board. Bureau of Sanitation and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for an expenditure in the amount of $60,255 for annual fees for wastewater discharge for the period of July 1st, 2023 to June 30th of 2024. And I do have a speaker card on this item. Mike Greenspan.
And President Garcia, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we do also have a hand raised on the Zoom platform as well. If you'd like me to see if the attendee with the name that starts with the initials GP.
Yes, let's do that for item 8.
Would you like to offer commentary on item 8? Go ahead, you have 2
Oh,
minutes.
shit. That's why I'm not signed up, human. Isn't that why I raised my virtual hoof? To speak, right?
No, we're on item 8. You have 2 minutes. If you
Yeah.
To put the 2 minutes clock.
Sewer operations? I love that subject because we're going to get to talk about piss and shit. And that's always a good topic, especially before lunch. Yes, here's what you do. You humans, you go into your little bathrooms and flush down your drugs, drug needles, and then you mix it with your urine and your feces. And then you flush it. And then where does it go? It goes to you. But you have to comply with state and federal law. And we know you're not. Look at all of the problems at the Hyperion wastewater treatment. And what you do is you just let the shit go into the ocean, where all of the animals get to eat all of your drug needles and feces. Imagine the beautiful little whales. And imagine sea lions sitting there choking on a drug needle and dying. Do you care now? You're $60,255 for polluting our water. $60,255 for getting away with all of it. Yes, you're supposed to have screens. They're supposed to catch the bigger stuff. Like what? Like lawn chairs.
This is item
Yes.
number 8.
Well, stupid, I'm talking about the discharge of fucking water and fucking sewage. And that's how you do it.
2
You
minutes.
put it through.
Thank
That's
you.
2 minutes.
Ms. Aisa Jackson, welcome, ma'am.
Good morning, soon to be good afternoon, commissioners, board reps, and city attorney and executive officer. Asia Jackson with LA Sanitation, assistant division manager in clean water conveyance. And I have here a fee bill for wastewater discharge for sanitation. We have 6,700 miles, over 6,700 miles of sewers that we operate and maintain within the city. We have 4 water reclamation plants, Donald C. Tillman, Los Angeles Glendale Treatment Plant, that all serve the Hyperion service area going to Hyperion Treatment Plant, and we have Terminal Island Treatment Plant. In terms of this bill for the State Water Resources Control Board, we have 3 service areas that are as part of that they consider. So that's Terminal Island, Hyperion, and then it's just LA Sanitation Other collection system. So for each of these 3 areas, the bill is $20,085. So the total I'm looking for our annual permit fees for wastewater discharge is $60,255.
Thank you for your presentation. Commissioners, do we have any questions on this item?
Oh, sorry.
All right. I know this is just one that we have to pay our bills to, and it's something that we cannot afford not to do. All right. And then do we have a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
All right. Mr. Knight, we have a motion by Commissioner Corson and a second by Pro Tem Davis. If you could please take roll.
Very well. We'll take a roll call vote on item number 8, starting with you, Madam Vice President.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis. Commissioner Corson.
Aye.
And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes, and item number 8 is approved and will move forward forthwith.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is item number 10, and this is an oral report, and it's one infrastructure project by the Bureau of...
I'm sorry to, I think we still need to hear the self-report on
I'm so
item number 9.
sorry. Yes, I was one step ahead of us. Thank you for correcting me. My apologies to Street Services. I know you've been waiting. Let's continue on to item number 9, and this is in Council District 11. And this is an AFE, State of California, Department of General Services, Bureau of Sanitation, and the Office of Accounting are requesting a board approval and execution of an authority for an expenditure in the amount of $2,102,000 for encumbrance of funds to pay for natural gas services to operate Hyperion Bioenergy Facility for the period of July 1, 2023 to June 30, 2024. And who do we have to present this item?
Well, we have Mr. Murillo in the audience, but we do have a speaker card in the room, and then we also do have someone attending, a virtual attendee who has raised their hand.
Okay.
So, Mr. Greenspan, would you like to, you have 2 minutes if you would like to offer your comment. And Zoom attendee with the name, and I'll use your first 2 initials, GP. You have 2 minutes to offer your commentary on item number 9. Go ahead.
Go puppet nigger developer. Yes. So we get to the nitty gritty. You have to encumber the $2 million. Why don't you issue a warrant for that $2,102,000? Because the city's bankrupt. You know it. So you're trying to make sure you pay your goddamn natural gas bill. But you're not saying who the payee is, stupid. Which company are we paying natural gas services to? There's several of them. DWP isn't the one who does natural gas. No, it's EPG or EEO or one of those little initial companies, right? I thought you were off natural gas. I thought you were 100% renewable electric. Look at you lying motherfuckers. Here it is, folks. So you see the liars that we have in the Board of Public Works Stupidity Division. Not compliant with the electrical mandate yet. Still burning natural gas. Fumes into the air. Raising our carbon footprint. Killing animals like myself with your pollution. You evil bastard, you. Why don't you have the guts, Madam President, shut down that facility and make it go to solar energy and 100% renewable so that we can do what the late Eric Garcetti told us to do. And what's that? To be green, even if
This
it
is item
bankrupts
number
every
9,
family.
Department of General Services.
Yes, Even if it bankrupts every family, we want 100% renewables. We
2
don't
minutes.
want your gas.
That's 2 minutes.
Fuck you.
Thank you. Public comment for item number 9 is now officially closed. Mr. Murillo, good morning, welcome. Well, good afternoon as of 4 minutes ago.
Yes. Good afternoon, President Garcia, board members. My name is Octavio Murillo, here on behalf of this Hyperion Water Reclamation Plant, presenting to you this authority for expenditure in the amount of $2,102,000. This request is for the encumbrance of funds to pay for natural gas services to operate the Hyperion Bioenergy Facility. The California Department of General Services will supply natural gas to the bioenergy facility in order to produce electricity and steam. This authority is requested for the period of July 1st, 2023 through June 30th of this year, 2024. The fund name is Sewer Operations and Maintenance, and there is no impact to the general fund. Just a quick overview. We used to get our natural gas from Constellation New Energy, which is the vendor operating our bioenergy facility, but we were able to jump on board with the state's California Department of General Services, which is giving us cheaper rates on a monthly basis, and we calculated just based on last year's natural gas used by the bioenergy facility, we would have saved $1.8 million. That's last year's. This year's, we predicted it'll be about the same amount. So right now we have accrued a few months of invoices, and this AFE, this funds would be used to pay off those invoices.
Okay, Mr. Murillo, thank you for that. Is that the end of
That's
your
it.
presentation? Thank you. Any questions, colleagues? Dr. Davis, you just, it's okay.
No, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's okay. You know, I think we're okay with the whole expenditure, so we'll talk about that, but we usually don't do an AFE for such a large amount of $2 million. Was there a particular reason why we went this route?
Since in the beginning we were not able, we had a few issues just trying to get the State Department on board, and we were only able to do this, I guess you would say, contract with the state via their gas service agreement. That was the only means of acquiring them to provide natural gas for us. We had a few meetings with them and our city attorney trying to get a memorandum of agreement with them, but they wouldn't accept that. And we presented the gas service agreement to our city attorney. She was okay with it, and we went ahead and went the route of authority for expenditure, which was the only ways of acquiring the state's Department of General Services.
Okay. All right, well, understood. There's a real reason why we did it and not just chose to go the AFE route. Usually on such a high ticket item, we usually like to see board reports with transmittals and backup documentation, but understood on why it got us here this way. Any questions, colleagues? Any objections? I mean, we have to pay this out. Saying none, is there a motion on the table to move item number 9 forward and forthwith? Thank you, Commissioner Reyes. Is there a second? Thank you, Dr. Davis. Mr. Knight, there's a first by Commissioner Reyes and a second by Dr. Davis to move item number 9 forward and forthwith.
Very well. We'll take a roll call vote on item number 9, starting with you, Madam President.
Aye.
President Pro Tem Davis. Aye. And Commissioner Reyes.
Aye.
All ayes. Item number 9 is approved and will move forward forthwith.
Very well. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
Likewise.
All right, colleagues, we are done with our voting items. We have an oral report by the One Infrastructure Project, Bureau of Street Services. Gina Liang is here on this item, but I do have a public speaker card for item number 10. Mike Greenspan.
Yes, I saved it for this. After all, only one street project? How many roads do we have? And we haven't even got it listed what council district, how much it's going to be, what street. After all, the previous item, it was Council District 11. I mean, this is a big old mystery. And I've got a neighbor who actually works with street services. And she's told me some interesting things. They've been working for about 2 years without a contract. I mean, they could go out on strike. As far as I know, they would have every legal right to go out on strike. But they are very dedicated workers. They go handing out leaflets in the path of where they're going to be working on streets to let the community know what's going on. I sure hope that this road being done is Satakoy and Lancashire. It's not full of potholes. It would look like a jigsaw puzzle with pieces missing. A chunk here, a chunk there. I mean, I wish all our roads were in such good shape that all you had to do was just go slurry seal them. But folks, that's wishful thinking. That's a dream world. I mean, so it's not potholes, but why don't we just tear up the street and repave the whole thing? It took 30 years to get a patch, a bump, a buckle in a road on Lancashire by the railroad tracks. It took 30 years before they came in and actually leveled it to where you could drive and not each time go over a bump. So you guys are very slow in getting things done. You use our money, or I should say misuse our money for these things. And what does that union that represents those street workers do? SEIU 721, they're a big old carbon footprint union that last election kept stuffing my mailbox with literature for Bob Hertzberg, that slimy Jewish lawyer who would say anything to get a vote instead of getting a contract for their workers.
One infrastructure.
Fuck you.
2 minutes. And President Garcia, I would like to note that we also have a hand raised on our virtual platform if you'd like me to see if the attendee, starting with GP, go ahead. If you would like to offer commentary on item number 10, you have 2 minutes.
Oh, shit. So, the streets. We have some streets for you to work on, human. Can you give me the streets?
Right here, Your Honor.
Thank you. 8th Street and Rampart is a fucking shithole filled with trash and burned out garbage. I have called 311, begged your department for help for months. And what do I get? I get the middle finger, don't I? And then we have Carondelet Street and San Marino, where we have a gang member encampment, illegally fixing cars on the sidewalk, trash, drums of feces, urine, and barf. Ew. Imagine that, having to be the guy or the gal that has to take and roll a drum of feces and urine that's been
This is
sitting
about
there for
infrastructure
months.
projects.
Ew.
Stick to the topic.
Ew. Well, I'm trying to, bitch. I'm trying to. It's disgusting, this motion. The street services are in shambles. Everything is gone. No services, and we have to have bulky item removal prior to the repairs and the cleanings.
And the bleaching.
And the bleaching, yes. And I'm sorry that before lunch, we have to mention these things. Is Mr. Davis going to do it? No. Is the city council going to do it? No. Is the chair going to do it? No. You're too interested in trying to feed your faces. Yum, 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 yum. But when you do, just remember your workers are out there fighting this fucking battle to clear our sidewalks and streets of all this filth and trash and drug needles. Fuck America!
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Jillian Ling and Nina, welcome. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
We're the last, but the best.
Save the best for the last. Sorry about that. And our two commissioners had previous, please get him out. Our two last commissioners, we had, they had to do business with the city, so sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. My name is Gina Liang, landscape architect with the Bureau of Street Services, Streets LA. Next to me is Nina Pino Wang, also a landscape architect. Today, we're here to provide a summary on our One infrastructure project. And this effort is just an initial step for our Bureau to develop a tool to implement multi-benefit project. Key staff. This project is managed by Streets LA. We have our principal engineer, Al Bazi, myself, and Nina, both landscape architects. We also have our consultant, Fear and Pierce. Today's presentation will cover 4 topics. We have a project overview, followed by an overview of demo and demonstration of a model corridor, and then our next step. A little bit about this project. This project was funded through the Caltrans Sustainable Planning Grant Program. We applied in February 2021, and it was granted in August 2021. Streets LA pursued this grant with the intention to define where we can apply for grants proactively, as well as identify projects already aligned with other departments' priorities. The goal of this One infrastructure project is primarily to focus to maximize grant eligibility and the competitiveness of the City of LA projects. It is also to identify multi-benefit projects that increase active transportation and build climate resiliency. We work with a very condensed schedule, roughly about 8 months. And within this project, we developed a tool called the Resilient Streets Planning Assessment, which is called RESPA. It is just an initial version as the beginning of what we can develop furthermore at a later time. With additional funding and resources, we hope that we can add more data and incorporate into this tool, and then can be tailored to our Bureau's benefits and needs. The 2 main outcomes for this One infrastructure project is first, defining needs and opportunities across the city by identifying infrastructure opportunities and across departments. Secondly, the project introduced opportunities to collaborate before pursuing grant application. This way, the project can have a more dig once approach to address multiple departments' existing priorities and plans. So what do we mean by One infrastructure? I'm sure you heard from many presentations with BSS, Streets LA, is that we have a One infrastructure strategy to bring active transportation, urban greening, and stormwater quality improvements in one project concept. And this project, One infrastructure, we use this approach to seek to bring gray, green, blue infrastructure all together in our project planning. The gray, we refer to the multimodal transportation, such as walking, biking, and transit. The green refers to the trees, landscape, and biodiversity. And the blue refers to the water elements, such as stormwater and water quality compliance. Under each of these categories, you'll see the departments listed that would provide potential collaboration for these kind of elements. A key driver of this project was working with other departments to ensure the tool accurately reflects the city's planning priorities and ensure its usability for our sister departments. Streets LA wants to make sure this project is implementable and does not sit on a shelf. We conducted a thorough literature review, which entailed the review of dozens of plans. And secondly, our team convened a technical advisory committee, or TAC, to understand existing processes across departments and identify where the One infrastructure project could help support existing department priorities. Lastly, the team worked on the existing MOU working group to make sure that our work is not duplicating nor replacing any existing tools. Additionally to the TAC meetings and collaboration, the project team also assembled Community Advisory Committee, or the CAC. It is made up of several community-based organizations and non-governmental organizations. And through these meetings, they express a desire for more tree canopy, more first and last mile improvements, as well as the desire for underground utilities. After getting together with the TAC and CAC meetings, we basically collected all this information, and we had 2 deliverables. The first deliverable, as I mentioned earlier, is the Resilient Streets Planning Assessment, RESPA. And the second is a Saticoy Street Model Corridor. The RESPA tool is to serve and to match really the grant eligibility up with the roadway network. It is also to identify infrastructure needs and opportunities across our sister departments. It highlights potential collaborators across departments. And lastly, visualizes the MOU public right-of-way checklist. We also wanted to use the RESPA tool to identify a model corridor and test this tool. To do so, we proposed a sample model corridor on Saticoy. This allows us to test the functionality of the RESPA tool and is more of an example of an actual project that we would implement at a later time. So this is just a concept of it. This demonstration corridor highlights how the RESPA tool can speed up preliminary data analysis and project planning. This is a conceptual corridor design that showcases potential improvements that could be pursued with a grant at a later time. I will pass to next slides to Nina as she can go into more detail of the RESPA tool.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. As Gina mentioned, I'll cover the tools specific to our One Infrastructure Plan. The Resilient Streets Planning Assessment, or the RISPA, is an Esri-based mapping tool that serves as a cornerstone of our project. It's made up of 3 modules that you see here. So that includes the Grant Suitability Project, the Multi-Benefit Project Planner, as well as the Public Right-of-Way Checklist Visualizer. So the first module that you see on the far left is the Grant Suitability Portal. This is a mapping tool that our team has developed that allows a user to select a grant of interest, for example, the Measure W grant or the Active Transportation Program grant, and the user can see which corridors in our city would be the most eligible and most competitive to apply a grant for. So if I, being on the grant team at Streets LA, wanted to pursue a grant, I could pull up this mapping tool, look at all the corridors, and just visualize which corridors look most competitive for any grant. On this portal, we have 20 grants at a federal, state, and local level. So this tool is really essential in basically finding additional grant funding to fund corridor improvements throughout our city. So our second module on this Resilient Streets Planning tool is our Multi-Benefit Project Planner. So let's say I found a corridor and I want to apply for a grant. I would use a second module, the Multi-Benefit Project Planner, to basically explore opportunities where there are one infrastructure potential. So projects that can integrate green, gray, and blue infrastructure needs. That way we can start project planning before we apply for a grant with other sister departments. And as Gina said, take a one dig approach in implementing infrastructure improvements rather than having it be incremental. On this module, like the first module, all of our roadway is visualized and you can see which ones are prioritized that could appeal to this gray, green, and blue approach. This module incorporates over 50 data sets throughout the city and again scores each corridor as well. The last visualizer that you'll see on the far right is our public right-of-way checklist visualizer. And what a user would use this for is to basically allow for project coordination. You could use this to find out which projects are already happening on the corridor that you want to apply for a grant for and reach out to the appropriate parties to make sure that you all can coordinate your schedules and your improvement schedules. So that's a very quick overview of our RSPA. And so how does this fit into the city's suite of tools? whereas other tools in the city have functioned mainly to demonstrate data visualization, so, showing existing assets or where projects overlap, maybe even map jurisdictional boundaries. What we find distinctive about this wonderful RSPA tool is that it runs data analysis. It makes grant recommendations or recommends where one infrastructure projects could go so that you could pretty much figure out which corridor to apply for a grant for. So rather than, I'm sure you all have opened up Navigate LA, you turn on a bunch of layers. It's very overwhelming. It's kind of a spaghetti of layers. Our tool will run the data analysis for you to select which corridor and input and weigh different corridors. And so we do have a tool demo to play for you. It's very quick. It's 5 minutes. I don't know if it will play if I click on this clicker here.
Explanation for each of the 3 modules that are contained within this tool.
think
You can navigate to each of those modules.
I can also
send. Is it a video?
Yeah, I can send the video to you all to view later as well.
Oh, but can we see it?
Oh yeah, of course. It's at a sped up rate, so be aware.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can.
I mean, let's do the whole demo already. You guys did a lot of work on
Explanation
this.
for each of the 3 modules that are contained within this tool. You can navigate to each of those modules via these buttons on the bottom. There's the Grant Suitability Portal, the Multi-Benefit Project Planner, and the PROW Checklist Visualizer. We will step through each of those individually, starting with the Grant Suitability Portal. Here, you'll notice on the right-hand side, there is a sidebar that gives you more information about how to use the module and where the data comes from. All of these modules will have a similar sidebar that you can collapse in order to get more real estate for the map. Here we have the US DOT Capital Investment Grant visualized, which means that every segment of the roadway network is symbolized according to how suitable it is for an application for that particular grant. The legend is down here, and the lighter colors mean that the roadway segment is more suitable for that grant. There are over 20 grants included on the left-hand side for you to explore, but you should always check one off before checking on another one. They're organized according to federal grants, state grants, and regional and local grants. And then there's an additional section down here for the city boundary layers and the city council districts in case those are helpful to look at in conjunction with the grant score. So you can see in a snapshot how the entire city roadway network scored according to any individual grant, but you can also zoom in to learn more about what went into that score. So here, maybe we want to click on a high scoring segment for this particular grant, and we've selected this segment of Sherman Way. We see that the grant score is 1, the highest possible score, and then we can see the factors that went into that. So this is in a high VMT area, it lacks bus shelter, it's near affordable housing, etc. And you can do this for any of the roadway segments you like. Moving on to the Multi-Benefit Project Planner, which is really the heart of this tool. Again, there's more information on the sidebar here, but we're going to collapse it in order to give ourselves a little bit more space. We've zoomed in here, but the entire roadway network for the city of Los Angeles is visualized here, contained in this map, and visualized according to the Opportunity Index, which is something that communicates the total amount of infrastructure investment opportunity on the roadway segment. Again, lighter colors indicate more opportunity, and the darker colors indicate roadway segments that have relatively less opportunity for investment. On the right-hand side, there's a variety of statistics that right now are summarizing the state of the entire roadway network in Los Angeles, but we'll update with any selection that we make to summarize whatever we've selected. And I'll walk through that in a second. But it has the total length of the corridor that's selected, or in this case, the entire roadway network, opportunities for collaboration with various departments, and then a variety of statistics summarizing blue, green, and gray infrastructure. And within each of these, there are several that you can toggle between.
I see.
On the left-hand side, there are a variety of filters that you can apply. Several of them in this section are equity filters, so related to various equity criteria from the federal government or from the city of LA. If we want to toggle on the made priority areas, we can do that, and now we're seeing only those areas that are made priority areas. We can also look at the climate focus areas and do the same thing. And for example, we can toggle on the fire hazard zones and see only roadway network segments that are within CAL FIRE fire hazard zones. And as mentioned, we can dive into any corridor in the city and learn more about what the infrastructure investment needs are there and what departments would be good to collaborate with. So if we want to zoom in even more, we can look at this section of Santa Monica Boulevard. And to do that, I'm going to select the lasso tool, and I'm going to draw a circle around Santa Monica Boulevard. And then on the left-hand side, I'm going to go up to the road name filter, and I'm going to type in just the name of the street that we're interested in exploring. Selecting that limits the selection to only Santa Monica Boulevard. And on the right-hand side, it updates all of these statistics to only reflect the selection here. So this is a 1.7 mile length segment. There are opportunities to collaborate with the Department of Public Works, the Department of Transportation, and LADWP. Now we can move and look at all of these statistics that have updated to reflect the infrastructure investment opportunities on just this corridor. So almost 92% of this has aging sewer infrastructure. It's not in a high priority impaired watershed. 93.5% of it is suitable for recharge opportunities. 16.6% is within a 100-year floodplain. Just under 5% has aging stormwater infrastructure. Going down to the green infrastructure cards, there's just under 12% of this corridor has upcoming green infrastructure projects. 80% has low tree cover. It's not in a fire risk zone or a natural habitat area, but 87% of it is in a high pollution area. And this corridor does have access to open space. And then lastly, the gray infrastructure. This entire corridor is on the high entry network. It has access to high quality transit. Just under half of it is lacking bike share access. Again, just under half of it is lacking bus shelter. There's 68.6% of it is lacking EV car share. 80.6% is missing bike infrastructure, 63% lacking public EV charger access, and 85.2% has high bike ped travel stress. If you want to navigate amongst any of these stats, you can click down here and choose the one that you want to go to. Additionally, there are some extra layers available here, including climate layers and city council districts that you can layer onto this to explore more. And lastly, we're moving on to the PROW checklist visualizer. So this is an opportunity to visualize many of the spatial data sets that are contained within the PROW checklist. They're organized according to policy priority areas. So we have LADOT, LADPW, Metro, equity priority areas, plan designation layers, and other reference layers, including street classification, and again, the city boundary and city council districts. So this is an opportunity to toggle on as many of these as you're interested in to explore what is near a potential project you have in mind. So we could look at Metro bike share. We could look at stress-free connections, focus neighborhoods, and, for example, the high entry network. And as you click those on, the legend in the bottom left will populate to show you what you're looking at. And that's the Resilient Streets Planning Assessment Tool. Thank you so much for your time.
So it's very fast recap of the functionality of our tool, but the second component, as Gina mentioned, of our project is to actually use the tool to identify a hypothetical corridor if we were to pursue a grant. So we call that the model corridor.
Okay.
And basically the team used that tool that was just demoed to explore corridors with high level of infrastructure opportunity. Using that project planner, which was the second model, which you see kind of screenshotted on the right side, we were able to identify Saticoy Street, which is on the border of Sun Valley and North Hollywood. And what was appealing about this corridor is the fact that, again, it applies with gray, green, and blue infrastructure needs. It isn't already identified for major projects across the city, and there are a lot of opportunities for collaboration across the departments. So using that RSPA tool, we developed a fact sheet, which you'll find in this packet that we provided for you, so you all can take a closer look later. But basically from that tool, we're able to develop this information really quickly, like all the factoids about green, gray, and blue. You could pull that right from our tool, and basically this would make something pretty grant ready. You could list these factoids off and say, this is how we're evaluating ourselves by prioritizing these infrastructure needs and opportunities in our city. So you'll see here, our great team developed this fact sheet, letting you know what equity priorities we have in this area, what climate resiliency priorities we have. We also developed a corridor, so you can see these improvements here in this section. You'll see the green improvements, including the Paseo, street trees, gray elements, so mobility hubs, EV charging, curb ramps, resurfacing, as well as blue elements, so subsurface pipes, stormwater retention. And lastly, we also had provided a map of the improvements that we are proposing for Saticoy using this tool, as well as renderings. So on these renderings, you can see a conceptual sample rendering of what we see as a potential one infrastructure project for Saticoy. On the top, you'll see a possible streetscape in front of Julie Korenstein Elementary School, as well as on the bottom, you'll see a streetscape proposed for the intersection of Saticoy and Laurel Canyon Boulevard. Lastly, we also came up with a implementation plan, which is that last sheet on the fact sheet. And it basically walks you through 6 steps that you would take from grant conceptualization through project implementation and maintenance. So that was a very quick overview of our model corridor. Of course, you can take a closer look at our fact sheets, as well as our presentation that we've shared. And so in terms of next steps that Streets LA would like to take, We know that there are many additional components that can be incorporated into this tool. This is kind of a 1.0 version of it with additional funding and resources. We envision a lot of renditions where this tool could possibly be expanded in the future in terms of pursuing grants and capital improvement projects. And Streets LA, in terms of next steps, would like to incorporate this tool into our asset management system, which is developed through our city's contract with Cartograph. So thank you so much for your time. This is Gina's contact information. Feel free to reach out to us with questions, and I'm also happy to answer any questions you all may have this morning.
Thank you, Nina and Gina. Very nicely done presentation. I agree with you. I feel like I want to clap too. But there's another reason why I want to clap in addition to your presentation.
Yeah.
Nina, did you and Gina and your team design, not only, I know you designed it, but did you also build it?
No.
Okay.
Or, wait, the tool itself? Or
Yeah.
the corridor?
No, the tool itself.
Yes. So we worked with our great consultants who are also here, Fair and Pierce, Brown and Caldwell, to build this tool, and it's going to be within the city family use. So it's going to be housed at the city.
Okay, good. So you meet Commissioners Reyes' threshold to make sure that one, we own it, and two, we know how to utilize it.
Correct.
That's been something that Commissioner Reyes has really made sure that bureaus moving forward make that a practice now. So thank you for that.
In addition, we will also get a maintenance booklet. So if this were to transfer, anyone were to want to maintain it in the future, we'll have like a maintenance book for it. So we really think it's important for it to be updated so that its relevancy is maintained.
Understood. Commissioner Reyes?
I love the concept. I love the fact that it is a collaborative tool, not just with our departments, but also with community organizations, and you're using data that's coming from equity, justice, disadvantaged communities, because that will really help with identifying and prioritizing where model corridors, where planning can be envisioned for those specific areas. My question is, how are we with, the funding? Because this will be an important, this is just foundational, funding and resources need to be expanded, and it'll be an ongoing effort. Is that also in collaboration with other folks when they identify funding that we could help them, say, partner with them in terms of grant applications, for example?
Yeah.
Is that the intent?
The intent pretty much is exactly as you described. Let's say I work at Street Services. I'm interested in pursuing a grant for Santa Monica Boulevard. I'll go into our tool. I'll see that it's eligible for a certain grant. I'll see that in the multi-benefit tool, there are other departments that may have interests and priorities already. And it would allow me to understand who to reach out to so that we could partner to pursue grants. That way our grants are not just appealing to a certain bureau or department's interests, and takes a more holistic approach to just incorporating stormwater, greening, more hardscape improvements. That way all those things can be considered simultaneously.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
I love it.
And Gina, do you want to add anything?
Thank you to both, and to the team, to your team, to putting this out too, and Anna Tubanariti. You're under Anna Tubanariti, right? Yeah. Thank you for that. I love it too, to be honest with you. I'm very excited at how you put this together, and I'm always very impressed when we do this, because it just tells you, who's who, who's what, and it's just, I've seen these graphs a couple of times, but I like it when we identify who the department belongs to, because that tells you where we're seeking partnership from. And second, this is just comes very crucial at a time that we're trying to be more resourceful and maximize our resources. So this is definitely a way to do that. I'm very impressed with the work that you guys have done. I'm very impressed with this new concept that you're doing. And then just very much happy to know that we are looking into grants and funding to come this way, and that we're not always relying on the general fund. So thank you for that. So I just want to say nicely done. Good job to all of you. And I look forward to implementing this in not just your bureau, but, you know, eventually, hopefully citywide, right? But also bringing you onto our grants task force and seeing how this can also be a tool that can be used for other bureaus. But definitely you are the onset of it. So thank you very much to all the work that you've all done.
We really appreciate your time as well, and we look forward to, of course, having this tool serve the city. So
thank you. And I know that you were the last, the last of today. We had a very aggressive meeting this morning, but other than that, I know that my colleagues would be very much interested in making sure that they understood this tool as well. So,
of course, they're welcome to reach out to us.
yes, please do so. All right, well, thank you both and have a good rest of the day. We appreciate your time. We heard your item and thank you.
Thank you.
Both. Thank you. All right, Mr. Knight, that is the end of today's items.
Yes, that concludes the voting. That concludes all items on today's agenda.
Great. It is 12:40 now, colleagues, and this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.